31 years of public education. I was certified in 1992. I've learned that, you know, kids still want discipline. Kids still want leadership. Bottom line is, as long as you're straightforward and honest with them, they're going to be as cooperative and accommodating as they can be with you as far as like your needs and concerns where they're standing. I did see the film Concussion. CTE is a real situation. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy is, the word chronic means over time, which means that repetitive blows to the head create a very undesirable situation. Many former NFL players who have since passed on donated their brain to science so that this research could be furthered. And the research is ongoing. Even though we know quite a bit about it, there's still more to know. One of the biggest hurdles that I had to contend with was concussions on a high school level. For example, the situation that took place recently with Tua Tagovailoa. You're looking at an adult versus a 14, 15, or 16-year-old, child. Young kids need a longer recovery time because their brain is still growing. You and I, on the other hand, should we sustain a concussion, we can recover fairly quick because our brain's really not going to grow any more than what it is. Okay, contrary to what our wives would like for us to happen, but we pretty much can deal with this. And when you're talking about an NFL caliber athlete, the level of treatment that those individuals receive is exemplary. I mean, for lack of a better word. Now, back when the movie Concussion came out, and it really dealt with a few teams in the NFL that, I'm not going to mention any names, but they were very successful. But their attitude, the owner's attitude was, I'm paying you X million dollars to play. I expect you to play. Because if you don't play, we don't put seats, we don't fill the seats in the stands. We don't make money, which means that I can't get rich and you don't get paid. So that's just cut and dried as it comes. But then the NFL Players Association started to take a more serious look at it. The strike had an underlying cause. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the safety of the player. Because the average NFL career is on about 5 years, okay, depending upon the position. I'm not naive enough to think that every player is, the top concern of every owner. What their concern is how productive that player is going to be. If they can't be on the field, then they're not going to be productive. We fall back to the same root cause. Given the fact that there have been players that have had to leave the profession because of traumatic brain injury, I think the NFL and the owners are now taking a more serious approach. Helmets have evolved now, because what I wore when I was in high school and what today's players on the high school and college and pro level are wearing, Lord, I wish I could have had that. Not that I would have not sustained an injury. A helmet is only a tool. The player wearing it has to be able to use that tool within the confines of the rules. That's where we get to the targeting situation and all that. And my personal opinion about it, these helmets are designed to protect as best they can, but it is not 100% effective. You have to be cognizant of the fact that you're a missile, 180, 190 pound missile traveling at 5 to 10 miles an hour, hitting a stationary object, or even worse, hitting an object coming at you at full force. The physics doesn't play well. So you have to be aware of the fact that these are grown men They put their bodies on the line every Sunday. There are going to be injuries that occur, but as I stated, grown men recover quicker than high school students. When we do an assessment, a concussion assessment in a high school student, we have certain things that we have to follow through. And they have to be asymptomatic for at least 7 to 10 days before we start our return to play protocol. That return to play protocol is very specific. We do an exercise, a mental exercise each day. If they develop symptoms during that, we start back at square one. We're very, very aware of the health and safety factors before we allow these athletes to come back. Now, do the coaches and parents like it? You know, some parents live vicariously through their children. They don't seem to understand that junior is not going to be able to play college football if, you know, he can't feed himself or dress himself. So we have to fight that battle. But over the years, those battles have become few and far between because the parents realize that the safety and welfare of their child comes before a W. And a lot of the coaches have now come to that too. You know, you go to court, you have to show just cause as to why you allowed that child to continue on when you knew better. Football teaches so many different things, okay? It teaches trust. It teaches teamwork. It teaches you how to overcome adversity. And football does teach a lot of those life values. Now, is it a violent sport? Absolutely. It's not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. Concussions are very serious, obviously. But if precautions are taken, rules are followed, techniques are implemented, the chance of gaining a concussion are minimal. There are so many things that child can learn from being associated with football and participating in it, that I believe that the benefits outweigh the risks.